Hi everyone. So we've been talking about mean, median, and mode of a set of data. Now we're going to go back a little bit and talk about how we may have gotten that data in the first place. So I've got some different ways of collecting data written on my board. I just want to go over the vocabulary with you that you're going to see today and tomorrow. So we have here primary data, and primary data is data that you can go and collect yourself. So it may be questioning your class or your family, something that you have access to and that you can go and collect the information directly. All right, so that would be primary data. Now secondary data would be data that you can't go and collect yourself because maybe what you're studying is far away, or it involves a really big population, and what you'd be doing, and maybe perhaps you don't even have the tools to collect the data that you need. So then you'd be using somebody else's data, like maybe Googling some statistics or something like that. So for example, if you're going to be studying sports scores or the weather, these are not things that you would be necessarily collecting yourself. You may want to use other people's research for that. And that would be called secondary data. So primary is what you'd collect yourself. Secondary is using somebody else's information. And these definitions are on your page for you as well. Now, if you are going to be collecting your own information using primary data, then there are three main ways that you can collect that data depending on what you're studying. So if you want to do something that involves people taking a vote, you might want to do a survey. We're very familiar with surveys. We've done some in class, and we've studied surveys in the past. So collecting votes and asking a survey question and collecting your data using a tally chart, things like that, that would be doing a survey. Now, something that might involve an experiment where you're watching things grow or measuring distance, like long jump or a plant growing, something that you'd be measuring every day or measuring on a regular basis or measuring in a set, that would be called a measurement, all right? Then the last option is observation. So for example, these are things that you're able to see directly with your eyes. You don't need to measure anything. You don't need to ask anyone. You can just see. So for example, if you're looking at a group of people and you want to see how many people are wearing blue, all right, well, that's something that you could use observation for. You don't need to ask anyone. You'd be able to just see that information. So three ways of collecting data using primary data here. Okay, now the other two words you're going to see that are going to come up tomorrow are census and sample. So if you're trying to find information or collect data, there's a couple of options here. If you want to find out what everybody's answer is in the entire population, you'd be doing a census. So that would be possible if it was maybe your classroom, or if you had a small school like SLA, you could probably go around to every person. But sometimes a census is not possible. So for example, if you're looking at something that's Canada-wide maybe, all right, then you would want to maybe just take a sample. So just using a small amount of the big population, all right, to kind of get an estimate of what you're looking for. So if you're looking for what is everybody's favorite book in grade 2 across Canada, then you may just want to just take a few grade 2s in different areas of Canada and use a smaller sample just to see, because that population will be too large for you. So you can only do a census really if you have access to the entire population. If you don't, or if it's a large number to work with, you may just want to do a sample and then get an estimate for the larger amount by doing a sample. So I'll get a little more specific with that, and you're going to see this tomorrow, where we're going to be using a sample to estimate what the answer might be for the full population or the full total. So say I have 9,000 jelly beans, all right, and I want to find out how many are red. I won't necessarily want to be going through 9,000 jelly beans and counting all the red ones. Maybe I don't need to know exactly how many red there are. Maybe I just need an about number. And so this is the kind of math you're going to be doing for that. So first of all, you wouldn't want to do the entire 9,000 to test your sample or to experiment with. All right, we are going to choose a sample size of 75. And then if I looked through that sample, maybe I found through my experiment that only 2 were red. Okay, and I can now use a fraction to describe that. So out of 75 jelly beans, that's my sample size, out of 75, 2 were red. Now, I can use that fraction then to tell me about how many are red out of the whole 9,000 by turning it into an equivalent fraction out of 9,000. All right, so now comes a little bit of a tricky part. You know that to change a fraction, you have to multiply numerator and denominator by the same number. So now what do I multiply 75 by to get 9,000? Not very easy mental math here, not you really even be able to use a fact family at this point. So what I want to do is I want to do a bit of algebra maybe and work it out. So in other words, I'm going to work backwards a bit. So if I do some double-digit long division here, I can see maybe how many times 75 goes into 9,000, and then I'll know what I have to multiply by. So this is a way that I can figure out what that fact family is and work backwards a bit. So again, we're doing that long, that 2-digit long division. I'm going to use 90 here. So 75 once. Okay, I have a bit of regrouping in here. So it's totally fine to do all your regrouping as you're going along. I would recommend that. Now 15, and I'm going to, let's have a remainder of 15. I'm going to bring down the next place value here. So 150. Now, using some of my math skills, my mental math, I know that that would be 2 times. 2 times 75 is 150. Which would give me a remainder of 0, and then I've still got this one here, okay, which I'm going to use that as well, and get to my final answer here. So it's 120. I'm going to be multiplying 120 for the numerator and denominator to get my full population of jelly beans here. So 2 times 120 is 240. So about 240 would be red according to my sample size. And again, this is just an estimate, but it is a way to work with a large population by taking a sample and then trying to use that sample to estimate how much would be in the total number. So you have a few questions like that. So use a fraction to represent your sample, and then just change the denominator to work with your whole population or your total number. All right, so have fun doing that today and your long division here. And I'll just give you a little bit of a gift. These exact numbers and this exact long multiplication is in one of your questions tomorrow.